just take it out. If you want to just, yeah. Okay. When you put it back, when you take it out and put it in, it's kind of like angle in, angle out. Don't yank it this way because it sometimes breaks this connector. But yeah, you're welcome to do that. If you take it out the other way, it'll probably... Otherwise, you're just going to rip all the heads off of those poor flowers. Are you ready? Smiling faces always find a welcome. That's why everyone should learn to smile. Remember, after all, your troubles may be small. Here's a little thought that's worth your while. When you're blue and kinda lonely too, you'll find a smile will go a long, long way. Though you're down, don't sit around and frown. A little smile will go a long, long way. Never grieve, just try and make believe. The sky is blue, although you know it's gray. Don't you pine, it's just a waste of time. You'll find a smile will go a long, long way. Once I used to think my case was hopeless. Never wore a smile the livelong day. But since I learned to smile, my life has been worthwhile. That is just the reason why I say, when you're blue and kind of lonely too, you'll find a smile will go a long, long way. Though you're down, don't sit around and frown. A little smile will go a long, long way. Never grieve, just try and make believe. The sky is blue, although you know it's gray. Don't you pine, it's just a waste of time. You'll find a smile will go a long, long way.
Welcome. Good morning. Thank you, Doug. Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Cincinnati. My name is Katie Price. My preferred pronouns are she and her. I will serve as your worship leader today, along with June. I'm grateful to share this service with you this morning, both in person and online. Our congregation was founded in 1830, and we have worshiped in this building since 1889. But we acknowledge that we occupy land that is the ancestral home of the Adena, Hopewell, Maya, and Shawnee peoples. Our church is a place you can bring your whole self, your full identity, your questioning mind, and your expansive heart. We are a community committed to social justice and supporting the various spiritual and ethical paths of our members and friends. Our congregation strives to be welcoming to all. So you will see signs for various accommodations, such as gender-neutral restrooms and hearing assistance devices. These are also listed on the back of the order of service. Please ask our ushers if you have any questions. If you would like to know more about our church, about the Unitarian or the Unitarian Universalist faith, please contact us by emailing member-care@firstuu.com. All right, so it's now time to do our chalice lighting. Do we have are we putting up the words? Oh. Oh, yeah. I knew that. I've only been a member here for like years. All right, so we'll be doing hymn number 66, When the Summer Sun is Shining. I guess we could have stayed standing because it's time to greet our neighbors. if I could have the bowl of silence in my real life, that would be fabulous. All right, so I think it's time for our story for all ages.
The Story of the Flower Communion by Reverend Sarah Milvius Schur. The story of the Flower Communion begins in Prague, Czechoslovakia, in June of 1923, with a Unitarian minister named Norbert Čapek. The city of Prague was in turmoil as it tried to recover from World War I. Czechs had traditionally been staunch supporters of religious freedom, but during many years of German rule, they had been forced to practice Catholicism. The people of Prague, embracing their new freedom, were trying to rebuild their community, but they were faced with widespread hunger and were lacking necessities such as warm clothes. Reverend Čapek was the minister of a new and growing Unitarian church in town. He was known for his uplifting hymns and welcoming community. Čapek knew that during the hard times, people needed something even more special. He wanted a religious ritual that would bind his diverse community of people together in hope and care. He knew the traditional communion service of the local Catholic Church would not be comforting to many of his parishioners, some of whom had felt let down by what they saw as corruption in powerful Catholic leadership. But what kind of ritual would work? What kind of ritual could he create to help his community, healing the wounds and unifying the people? Reverend Čapek looked to the beauty of nature to find a solution. For this special ritual, he asked everyone to bring a flower to church. It could be from a cultivated garden, or it could be a wild flower from the side of the road. Even a twig and leaf would be fine. As people entered the church, their flowers were collected in a large vase. Women in the congregation arranged all the flowers into a beautiful bouquet. At a special point in the service, the children brought forward the truly spectacular bouquet. The flowers were consecrated with prayers and hymns written by Reverend Čapek. At the end of the service, everyone was invited to take home a flower, but they were to take home a different flower than the one they brought. And they were to take flowers just as they came, without regard for where they came from or who had brought them. This was the first service of what came to be called Flower Communion. Reverend Čapek wanted the diverse flowers in his communion service to symbolize people. Many different flowers can make a beautiful bouquet, and many different people can make a community. All have value, and all are important. The service was very successful, touching many people deeply. It became a church tradition. This story also has a sad part. Hitler's troops began to occupy Prague in 1939, and by 1940 the Prague Unitarian Church was under the surveillance of the Gestapo, the Nazi police. Reverend Čapek and his Unitarian Church were not popular with the Nazis. Nazi court records state that Čapek was, quote, too dangerous to the Reich for him to be allowed to live, unquote. In 1942, Norbert Čapek was taken to the Dachau concentration camp and died in the gas chambers. Reverend Čapek was a good minister to the very end. He was a kind presence to those in the camp with him, and when he could, he wrote home letters of encouragement to Unitarians in Prague. We, Unitarian Universalists, like so many other religious groups, have religious martyrs who died for their faith. We count Čapek as one of our heroes, not because he died, but because he was willing to stand up for what was right and true, even if it meant he would be killed for doing so. Čapek shows us an example of courage to speak the truth of love, even when faced with the threat of death. Čapek's flower communion service has made a permanent difference in our faith. In 1939, Maja Čapek, Norbert Čapek's wife, and a minister herself, brought the flower communion service to the United States. It has been celebrated in Unitarian churches all over the continent ever since. Norbert Čapek may have died, but his touching ritual and his strong belief in affirming and celebrating the importance of everyone lives on today. Čapek's message lives on in this very service as we celebrate our flower communion.
What a beautiful story. So traditions, I think, kind of make us time travelers, right? They allow us to be part of the past, and they bring us together in the present, and they also allow us, when maintained, to be part of the future, even when we're not here. And the world is constantly changing. What we're able to do or how we do things also has to change as the world changes. So sometimes we have to take traditions and meld them into things that work better for us in the moment with a heartfelt gratitude and acknowledgement of what came before us. So flower communion, and I couldn't have said it better than Meredith did, but it's a moment where we both honor the past and these amazing, difficult moments in history. But it's also how we honor our future by maintaining traditions and saying that we will keep being part and bringing these things together long after we're gone. And so when we maintain traditions, we give both a gift to our ancestors and to our children. So I'm very excited that we're all here together in these moments to participate in this tradition together. And it's been a little while, right, because of COVID, and we kind of had to shift a little, and this is just very exciting that we get to do this. So thank you guys for being here and participating. I would like to invite everyone who hasn't already to bring any flowers forward. You can bring them up the side aisles, and then you can go back down the center aisles so we don't, no one gets injured. And there are vases, and there are smaller ones behind these bigger vases if needed. And if you need help, just wave us down, and we'll be happy to help you.
Good morning. You might have noticed when you were up here there are some doodle papers with clipboards and papers on the table in case anyone would like to doodle. These are official 100th anniversary doodles from the UUA. And there are pencils and there are crayons. I am doing the next section called Prague Then and Now. My name is June Schlipf, and I use pronouns she, her. Meredith's history of Norbert Chopek and the flower communion isn't the end of the story. Flower communion has flourished in many Unitarian and Unitarian Universalist churches for 100 years. This year, the UUA has provided special information for the 100th anniversary, including videos of interviews with Reverend Peter Samoyski, who is the current minister for Prague. This ministry includes several churches in or near Prague, each of which chooses its own way of doing the flower communion. They call it the flower celebration. Reverend Samoyski's churches develop a different theme each year. One of these churches made a point this anniversary year to actually have a 1920s swing band and suggest people wear 1920s clothing styles. Where did you think we got this idea? The early Prague churches rejected the Christian idea of communion, creating instead a festival or celebration, emphasizing the power of acceptance in a diverse community. Reverend Samoyski also clearly encourages churches to not use the exchange of flowers to give people a chance to choose their favorite, most beautiful flower. Instead, the idea is to accept that the flowers, like individual people, come in many varieties, each with different valuable characteristics. He even sometimes goes so far as to include a truly prickly flower to illustrate this point, bringing stinging nettles for his contribution to the celebration. This stinging plant is actually highly nutritious and enjoyable to eat when properly prepared. Believing that each plant has its own valuable characteristic allows us to receive the gift of a flower, to feel the power of a united community, and to remember the importance of accepting people as they are.
Oh my God, I'm out of breath. Good morning, I'm Mary Tarbell Green. I am a gardener. These are all mine. I don't even know how I look. We do stand, I am out of breath, on the Adina Hopewell, Miami, and Shawnee. The Adina Hopewell were known for their earthen mounds. So if you go out to Serpent Mountain on your way to Athens, they use those for burial ceremony rituals. And their dwellings had grass roots. And we get squash and beans and corn and sunflower and knotwood from them. So as we stand, we bring that tradition here, which is why we echo that each week. They had highly organized farming communities, but then fast forward to the 1920s, which is a theme today, their gardens and crops were used as sustaining. We, in the 1920s, had full years of food, preserving storage for a year from our gardens. And then we moved into plows and horses and tractors, and that's a whole different thing. So, every gardener needs tools, and I decided to align my tools with the principles. So, we need stability, and the first principle, inherent worth, means you can't kneel by yourself. You need strength, and the other piece of that is dandelions are considered weeds, but they're also bee pollen, so the inherent worth is important. Justice, equity, and compassion. You are seedlings. Plants thrive and survive. We encourage spiritual growth. We water, we prune, we mulch, we nurture, not only in the garden, but with and for each other. This is so much fun. We search for truth and meaning, and in the garden we do the same thing. We get on the ground and we watch the little seedling and see if it's going to get out there. And so the plants reach for the sun, or they get drenched in the rain. They nourish themselves with the sun and the rain, as we do with one another. Conscientiousness, respect for land, for insects, for nature. And so we dig into our own biases, we dig into our own judgments, and we want that echo of unity. The sixth principle, peace, liberty, and justice. None of these, by the way, really represent, you can use them on yourself. Peace, liberty, and justice. Nature is watching for, nature is coexistence. The seventh principle is interdependence. And if you look at nature, we are all interdependent. So weeds grow next to flowers, and birds fly with hawks, and raccoon go alongside other animals. And so they know how to coexist or not. And our search and our practice is that interdependence. The coming of age eighth principle is diverse multicultural. These have little thorns on them so that they can dig into the soil. And our multiculturalism means that gardening, the gardening of life, the gardening of our souls and spirits, are plants and flowers and seeds and weeds side by side, irrespective of our color, of our race, of our gender, of whatever. So those are the eight principles of our garden. Mary Oliver had one of the most beautiful, well, she has a lot on nature, as you know. And The Summer Day by Mary Oliver is one of my favorite. Who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? This grasshopper, I mean, the one who flung herself out into the grass, the one who's eating sugar out of my hand, who's moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down like we do, who's gazing around with her enormous, complicated eyes. Now she lifts her pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face. And now she snaps up with her wings and flies away. I don't know exactly what prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I've been doing all day long. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last and far too soon? So again, tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild, precious life? So, ladies and gentlemen, broccoli and beets, butterfly and bees, sparrows and seedlings, out on the table are all the seeds that I've collected. I want you to take them home with you. There are seed packets as you go out the door. If you put them in plastic, the little plastic sandwich bags, don't store them there because they need to thrive. Take as many and as much as you want. Grab the seeds, go out into nature, look up and let the sun or the rain kiss your face. Kneel and smell the roses. Take a deep breath. Exhale your gratitude, knowing that you are a part of and that you do, in fact, belong. May it be so, and so it is. Wait.
Mary has such beautiful tools. Okay. And everything happens as it happens. Okay, we have a little more for you about the growth and development of plants, or even large trees. Here we go. An oak tree starts with acorns. Does someone plant the acorn? In this case, the planter is resting after a busy day. The acorn sprouts and shows the first oak leaves. The oak tree grows. After nearly 100 years, this massive oak shows colored fall leaves and green leaves in the summer. Then a winter with bare branches. When spring comes again, the oak produces abundant flowers. Some of them float down and bring pollen for your nose. Others stay on the tree and develop into acorns. These acorns survive the cold of winter and the ice of spring and begin the cycle again. These pictures were taken using my new gardener's eyes. An article I read called "How Gardening Can Sharpen Your Power of Attention" introduced me to this term. Many of you know I love to take pictures of our yard and other places filled with nature's gifts. Gardener's eyes refers to the use of vision to pay close attention to things around you. One way to develop this is by seeking out and recognizing the small differences in plants from each other and of an individual plant over a period of time. One gardener, Penelope Lively, expresses it this way: the physical world has a new eloquence. We come now to the time in our service for the morning offering. We do try to make giving to First Church easy. You can text GIVE to 513-717-7373. Or if you can use the church's Breeze member system, click Give Now. If you would like to, you can give online at www.firstuu.com, or use the postal service by mailing a check made out to First Unitarian Church of Cincinnati to 536 Linton Street, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45219. For the month of June, our Share the Plate recipient is Treehouse Cincinnati. Since 2020, Treehouse Cincinnati has helped to forge a community for LGBTQ and allied individuals in the Cincinnati region. Treehouse Cincinnati is a resource and convening space that uplifts the programming of the LGBTQ community in our region to promote collaboration, diversity, and intersectionality. Your donation today will help support the work of Treehouse Cincinnati. Please make checks payable to First Unitarian Church of Cincinnati with Treehouse Cincinnati in the memo line. Or you may make your donation online through Breeze at any time. Please give generously and help to make our community more compassionate and inclusive. At this time, the morning offering will be gratefully received. But if this is your first time visiting, please feel free to let the plate pass you by. We are grateful for your presence with us.
right, we're going to take some time for joys and sorrows. But first, the donated flowers are from Ellen Wathen in memory of her mother, Betty Relihan. Part of being a beloved community is sharing joys and sorrows with each other. If you'd like to share something with the congregation through our Circle of Friends email or in the newsletter, or if you'd like to talk with our resident chaplain, Mary Tarbell Green, please fill out the form on the back of your order of service and place it on the desk in the back of the sanctuary as you leave the service. We also like to take time to acknowledge our joys and our sorrows together. We won't come forward this morning, but please take this time to quietly enter whatever contemplative mode you prefer while we, as a community, lift up the joys and sorrows that we've experienced since the last time we gathered together. Blessed be.
Blessed be. Before we receive the flowers from others of our beloved community, I invite you to listen to this reading by Lynn Ungar. Flower Communion. What a gathering. The purple. The purple tongues of iris licking out at spikes of lupine, the orange crepe skirts of poppies lifting over buttercup and daisy. Who can be grim in the face of such abundance? There is nothing to compare, no need for beauty to compete. The voluptuous rhododendron and the plain grass are equally filled with themselves, equally declare the miracles of color and form. This is what community looks like. This vibrant jostle, stem by stem, declaring the marvelous joining. This is the face of communion, the incarnation once more, gracefully resurrected from winter. Hold these things together in your sight. Purple, crimson, magenta, blue. You will be feasting on this long after the flowers are gone. And this is from Lynn Ungar's Blessing the Bread. Now you are invited to come forward up one of the side aisles and returning down the middle to receive a flower of our beloved community from Colin Price or Fran Turner. Colin, Fran. Those of you who are hesitant for any reason to take an actual flower or to breathe in extra pollen, feel free to come up the right aisle near the VIP area and receive a paper flower from the allergy-free flower basket held by John Schlipf. Come on up. I was reminded of two things I should tell you. One is that there are lots and lots of seed packets and seed things on the table in the outside area. And also that there are lots of flowers left. If anyone would like to come up and take some more flowers after the service is over, that would be fine. And now, as you hold your flower, celebrate together with this flower communion blessing by Thomas Rhodes. Within our hands, we hold the resurrection of the world. Transient and imperfect, these blossoms are still gifts of infinite value, like ourselves. Too often we seek permanence and perfection, resisting change, blind to our shortcomings. We become caught up in the petty issues and routine activities of our daily lives. But may these flowers serve as a reminder as they allow themselves to open to the heavens. For despite their imperfections, they still have integrity. And though they are transient, they contain the seeds of transcendence, like ourselves. Let us then also open ourselves to mystery and wonder, fretting not about small mishaps or even, for now, great misfortune. For the resurrection of the world is at our fingertips. The resurrection lies within us. Let us keep a moment of silent appreciation together. Now, please stand as you are willing and able, and we will sing together hymn number 318. We would be one. In closing, you may be seated if you like. Within the Heart of the Flower by Reverend Amy Zucker Morgenstern. Within the heart of the flower, the fountain of beauty. Within the heart of the community, a fire that warms and dances. Within the heart of each of us, a spark of the spirit of life. Holy, holy, holy. And now, Aaron will extinguish our chalice as we read together the words on the screen. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we have in our hearts until we are together again. Thank you. Now, Rosie and the band will remind us to love each other and celebrate our time for dancing.
It had to be you. It had to be you. I wandered around and finally found the somebody who could make me be true, could make me be blue, or even be glad just to be sad, thinking of you. Some others I've seen might never be mean, might never be cross or try to be boss, but they wouldn't do. For nobody else gave me a thrill. With all your faults, I love you still. It had to be you, wonderful you. It had to be you. It had to be you. It had to be you. I wandered around and finally found somebody who could make me be true, could make me feel blue, or even be glad just to be sad, thinking of you. Some others I've seen might never be mean, might never be cross or try to be boss, but they wouldn't do. For nobody else gave me a thrill. With all your faults, I love you still. Baby, it had to be you, wonderful you. It had to be you. It had to be you. It had to be you.